The Wyoming Cowboys did not have a good year in 2024. We kind of expected that with a coaching change, finishing 3-9. But it's a new year. 2025 has a lot of optimism for this team, and we're going to take a look at the top 10 players that are going to make that bounce back happen. We'll also take a look at the schedule, make some predictions, and see what we should expect from this team this year. Starting with a tight end isn't the norm. It's not usually something that we would do, but when you have a tight end like John Michael Gillenborg, you're looking at a player that has big-time ability, and honestly, I'm surprised that he didn't hit the transfer portal. Plenty of teams would have loved to have a player like him, 6'5", 250 pounds. Surprised that he maybe didn't go pro. I think some people expected him to. Surprised that he didn't enter the transfer portal, especially with you had a bad year. You didn't have a ton of opportunities with only 30 catches in 2024. The offense looked like it was struggling mightily. He sticks around and he's going to be a fan favorite. He's also a really tough player to guard. Teams have struggled his entire career trying to slow him down, and he's going to be a big reason why this offense turns things around. 30 catches, 425 yards, averaged 14.2 yards per catch, had 3 touchdowns. Again, he is a matchup nightmare for a lot of teams, and he's going to be a big reason that this offense turns things around. When you look at what Wyoming did in 2024, it wasn't good, but you have plenty of talent. You have some players that maybe stepped into new roles, and finding Gillenborg is going to be a big reason why you're successful. And if they do that more often, you feel like they're in a good position to win more football games. The offensive line was relatively young last year, and it'll be interesting to see what this team does in terms of finding replacements or finding guys that can step up. But Jack Walsh returning was huge for them. This is a second-team All-Mountain West player, someone who's been in this lineup for quite a bit, and he has the experience to help the group around him. And it's going to help this offense again. This is a group that struggled running the football at times. It also struggled pass. It really just struggled overall, putting points on the scoreboard, putting successful drives together. But Jack Walsh is a guy who has been doing this for a while. He's an experienced player, an all-conference type player that can get everything up to speed. And if this offense has success, it's the big names that are going to do it. Now, the biggest X factor for Wyoming has to be Caden Anderson. And you saw what happened with Evan Svoboda last year. You thought maybe he was going to be better. Didn't exactly pan out. They go to Caden Anderson, and things look a little bit better. Now, you're still looking for him to improve as a passer. Only completed 58% of his passes. You'd like to see him maybe take off a little bit more as a runner to open things up. Did have 49 yards last year, 2 touchdowns. Nothing crazy. But if you're going to be a pocket passer, things need to improve. Now, in his limited time, 955 yards, 6 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. So there is definitely something to build on. You feel like this staff feels pretty confident in his abilities. It's going to be fun to see what he's capable of doing. And honestly, it's going to be a fun season with all the playmakers they have available. Caden Anderson maybe shouldn't be this high on this list, but if he has the season everyone expects him to, this is going to be a really fun Wyoming offense to watch. Before we continue with the video, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Take a look. It takes a couple of seconds. It helps the channel grow. We've seen tremendous growth in the last couple of years, and we'd like to keep that going. Doing a giveaway at 10,000 subscribers, so we're hoping to hit that goal this year, and you make that happen. But let's get back to the video. Now, a guy who could have a monster year if Caden Anderson puts it all together is Jalen Sargent. Honorable mention, Mountain West last year, had just 23 catches, but turned those catches into 480 yards, which is 20.9 yards per catch and 2 touchdowns. 6 foot, 286 pounds. You feel like he's a pretty good player when he gets the football. It's just a matter of getting in the ball more. And if Wyoming can find ways to do that, if Caden Anderson truly is their quarterback and he finds a way to take a step, this offense has the ability to be explosive, which seems weird, especially after you watched last year. It's not like the cupboard's bare. This is a team that has plenty of talent to make things happen in 2025. It's just a matter of certain players have to step up. Caden Anderson has to be the guy. The offensive line has to take a step forward. And if they do, though, this feels like a really exciting team. Now, another thing that kind of contributed to a poor year was the defense didn't exactly play to its potential. This is a group that's had a number of big-time players behind the defensive line, on the defensive line, the secondary. You feel like they had some really good names. Even if they weren't the best, it was still a group that was one of the better defenses in this conference. Last year, they took a little bit of a step back. They regressed a little bit, but you feel pretty good about some of the players they have coming back. Tice Westland is one of those guys, someone who has the ability to get after the quarterback. 6 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, has a good frame, 6'5", 245 pounds. I think Wyoming has done a really good job of identifying guys who have really good frames for their positions. They're not undersized by any means. You're just finding ways to tap into that potential and find a way to get them to play at the level they're capable of playing. Westland is one of those guys. You feel like he just scratched the surface of what he can do, and this Wyoming team is expecting big things from him. It's going to help this defense get back to where they need to be, and if they're going to have more success, it's not just the offense that needs to take a step back or forward, it's the defense as well. Now, a player to keep an eye on the offense in the passing attack is Eric Richardson. The Northwest Missouri State transfer comes in with a pretty good arsenal of abilities. His ability to get open, only had 25 catches last year, but turned that into 411 yards, 16.4 yards per catch, and 6 touchdowns. Now, going from that level, the D2 level, to the FBS level is a big jump. So if he can handle that, you feel like he's in pretty good shape to handle life in the Mountain West. And again, this offense, this is a lot of potential that you're banking on. If you're making a prediction that's favorable for Wyoming, you're expecting Caden Anderson to take that step. Guys like Richardson are going to handle this transition, but this staff is really excited about what he can do. And if he reaches his potential, this Wyoming team is going to be a problem. Now, the rushing attack does have to improve as well. It's not just the passing attack, but Sam Scott is a very physical, big running back that is going to be really fun to watch. 6'2", 230 pounds. You don't see a lot of big running backs like that, especially not in the Mountain West. And then the best running back last year was Ashton Genty, 5'9", maybe, but 6'2". It's going to be very obvious to point out where he is on film, on the field, but you still have to tackle him. And this is a guy who had some experience last year, 435 yards on 92 rushes. He had 3 touchdowns. This is a guy who could take a big step forward. Again, the passing attack needs to help him out a little bit. The offensive line is going to be the bigger question with that. If they're able to take a step, if Jack Walsh and that group are able to play to their abilities, then Sam Scott has a big year. When Wyoming was playing really well, running the football was a big key. Now, granted, they couldn't run the football very well, and their quarterback was inconsistent at the beginning of the year, so things kind of derailed pretty quickly. But if Sam Scott and this rushing attack get going, this is going to be a very different team this year. The secondary took some big hits in the transfer portal. You know, you lost 2 big names, Keanu Parks and Rook Brown, depart to the transfer portal. Both end up at Houston, I believe. But Andrew Johnson is back. Andrew Johnson is someone who can play better than he did last year, and last year was a fairly solid season. I think that he had a pretty good year. You don't have maybe the numbers that suggest that, but if you watch him on film, this is a guy who's very comfortable in his role, very comfortable making plays. And again, this defense also needs to take a step forward. Not the numbers that we're expecting to see from Wyoming. The transition between coaches is going to be the biggest question. We'll talk about with the schedule a little bit more, but if this defense can get back to where they need to be, Jay Savell is going to have his hands all over that defense, but we'll see what happens with this group. Andrew Johnson is someone they're going to turn to this year. Now, while he didn't play super well at quarterback last year, Evan Svoboda is going to be someone to pay attention to at the tight end position. Now, we'll see if he can handle this transition, but he's going to be on this list because I think that he has the ability to make an impact on this team. The quarterback position is obviously just not in his future, so they'd make the transition to tight end. We'll see if he can be a big-time contributor. The fact that you're playing opposite of John Michael Gillenborg is going to make things a lot easier for you. They're going to put the attention towards him. Same thing with Jalen Sargent. Defenses are going to put their attention that way. They're not going to really worry about you, and that gives you favorable matchups. Maybe you get into a one-on-one opportunity with someone else. Maybe you get an opportunity to get open because people forget about you. Evan Svoboda is going to be a really fun player to watch because he has a second chance. He's looking to make the most of his opportunity, and he has the ability. If Caden Anderson puts it together and teams continue focusing on his top targets, this is someone who could have a breakout year if teams aren't careful. The FCS to FBS transfer portal numbers have increased over the last handful of years because people are realizing if I can play at the FCS level, I probably can do pretty well at the FBS level. And Braden Wilson is one of those guys. Comes in from Weber State, had a solid year in 2024, 57 tackles, 6.5 tackles for loss, 4 sacks. Again, if this defense takes a step forward, it's because the defensive line gets things started. Now, the whole defense needs to improve, but the defensive line is where everything starts. Wilson is someone who is going to be motivated. He's going to be excited about the opportunity to make plays. And you're looking at a guy who has the ability to help this defense improve in 2025. Finally, let's look at the schedule. Now, there's not a win total out for Wyoming yet. Some of them, pretty much all of the group of 5 has not had win totals produced, probably because of the transfer portal. So we'll see on that. But if I had to guess right now, I would guess it's set at 3.5. I considered 4.5, but I'd be curious what everyone else thinks. To me, this ceiling, there's so many questions with this team. Now, if Caden Anderson and that offense take a step and figure things out, this 5-7 prediction for a ceiling is going to look ridiculous. Being realistic, though, there's so many questions. Jay Salvell and that staff have a lot of questions to answer. The offense has questions. The defense didn't play to its potential. They lost a ton of talent, whether it's to graduation, NFL, or the transfer portal. I'm really worried about this falling off the rails really quick. And Jay Salvell has a lot of work to prove that he can get this ship turned around. The floor is 3-9, so it's not much worse. But when you look at this schedule, you shouldn't lose to Akron or Northern Iowa. Those should be wins, but I say should because things need to be put together. Utah and Colorado in years past might be wins. The fact that Utah's coming to Wyoming is really exciting, but Utah is probably going to be better than we saw last year. Then you get a break. So if you're 2-2, that's probably as good as it's going to get. UNLV, though they are going through a transition personnel-wise, whether that's the roster, whether it's the coaching staff, still going to be a very good team. San Jose State is still going to be tough, even if they are looking for new go-to receivers. Air Force is probably going to bounce back. Colorado State looks like they're going to be better. San Diego State feels like they're going to bounce back. So this is not an easy conference to win football games. Then you get a break. You finish the season at Fresno State, Nevada, and at Hawaii. Not exactly an easy way to end things. Fresno State and Hawaii feels like tougher games on the road. Nevada, we'll see what they look like. That feels like a team that could go either direction. Wyoming is definitely going to have to prove themselves this year. And again, if you find more than 5 wins that you feel comfortable with, more power to you. Right now, to me, a ceiling feels like 5 is the max. 3 is going to be the minimum. We'll see. This is a program that has a lot of questions to answer, but if they do that, you feel like they're headed in the right direction.